Welcome back to Lake Break, a series devoted to breaking down a new body of water in a single day. Today, I'm giving myself 7 hours to catch 5 bass that weigh 20 pounds on Lake St Clair, one of the biggest lakes in the nation. I have fished St Clair a few times in my life, but never in the middle of summer, and I'm going to be fishing all new water today. This lake is vast and very flat, but I'm ready for the challenge, so let's go. Now, like I said, one of the hardest things about fishing a lake like this is that it is a very flat lake. There are not a lot of structural features like points and humps and ledges to be found. And so really you need to find the right cover in these areas that is going to be holding a lot of bass. Now, with that being said, sometimes on this particular lake, you can find bass in certain depth zones. And I thought with it being the middle of summer that the bass were going to be fairly deep. So I decided to run out towards the middle of the lake, and although there's not a lot of contour lines, I did notice some subtle changes in the bottom, and I decided to sit down and start graphing to see if I couldn't find some of that cover that I was looking for. Luckily for me, after graphing for just a few minutes, I found this small isolated grass patch, and after seeing what looked like bait on my graph, I decided to go ahead and turn around and start fishing. Now, one of the first things that I did was I actually threw a little small spoon down on some of this bait. I really didn't know what the bait fish was in this area, and after catching a small perch, I knew that I could be in the right area because smallmouth bass absolutely love perch. Feels like a smallie right there. Oh yeah, I'll be the first one. Came up and tagged that spy bait. Not a big one, especially for Lake St Clair standards. Let's go. Okay. All right, guys, let's go. We just got the first smallmouth of the morning. Pretty small fish. I mean, it's probably not even 2 pounds. Very small for Lake Standard or Lake St Clair standards. That fish weighs a 191. We got us a 191, and so I'm gonna let that fish go real quick. I'm actually pretty pumped about just catching a fish because I'm already seeing a couple of things that I want to see. One is the bait fish. That's why I tossed that little tiny spoon down there. A lot of times I'll catch bluegill on that spoon, I'll catch perch on that spoon. I can kind of figure out what that bait fish is by simply throwing that little spoon. And I know that these Lake St Clair smallmouth love perch. So there's definitely some in this area. I honestly was just getting ready to start graphing and I happened to land on a clump, and I marked the clump of grass, and I actually haven't even made it over to that clump yet. I've noticed these other small little clumps everywhere, so I'm just taking my time, easing around. And now that I know that I have bait, we obviously have bass. I mean, hopefully we'll get in some bigger ones, but honestly I'm pumped about just catching one so quick. So let's get to it. Now, after fishing this first area for a little bit and not seeing a tremendous amount of bass activity, I decided that I would jump back on my big motor and keep graphing. And again, I was able to find another isolated grass patch that was about 20 foot long. And again, I turned around and I started throwing that spy bait. Darn cool. Man, that fish is black. Let's go. All right, well, not another great big one by any means, but it's a fish. All right, well, we just got fish number 2 of the day. It's not a great big one by any means. Again, I think I'm gonna have to switch up my location here because I'm not seeing a ton of fish. I mean, I'm seeing some fish. I'm seeing a lot of bait. I'm really kind of surprised I haven't caught more fish, but even the few that I've caught haven't really been to Lake St. Clair standards at all. So we're gonna weigh this fish though. He's gonna count towards our 5 fish, hopefully 20-pound mark. But let's see how much he weighs quick. The fish weighs 229. Sorry, 220. So another small one, but man, he shot off the bottom to get that spy bait. I really like throwing a spy. It's bleeding a little bit, so let's get him back in. But there was actually 2 fish that wanted that. So real isolated piece of grass out here that fish was on, and you know, you think you'd be able to run a pattern with it, but I have marked a lot and casted out a lot, and that one clump was one of the few ones that I actually saw some fish on. So I'm seeing a lot of bait. I know there's perch in the area. You have a lot of the right ingredients. I'm just not seeing as many smallmouth. So, you know, I'm kind of out here in more of a summertime place, and I really felt like the fish would be out here, but maybe they're kind of still up in that Anchor Bay area before coming out here. So I'm just kind of keep working around this area. You know, these areas are so vast that you really kind of have to give, you know, a little bit of time to them to really kind of dissect them. So I'm gonna leave this place here, and I'm gonna cast a couple of times around here, and then I'm gonna leave, and we're just gonna keep on keeping on. So it was still a lot of fun though. Now, after catching these 2 fish, I actually spent a decent amount of time trying to find other isolated pieces of grass. And the few that I did find were just fishless. There didn't seem like there was any bass around them. So I started thinking that maybe I was in the wrong depth zone. Maybe I was too deep. So I got on my big motor and started running to some shallower water. But on the way, I noticed a big buoy out in the middle of nowhere. One of these big cans. And the thing about it is, when you get to a lake like Lake St. Clair that has a lot of current coming through it, these big buoys can actually be a great place to catch bass. Typically, these big buoys have a big block at the base of them, and they are going to provide a current break and a little bit of cover on a pretty featureless lake. Now, after stopping on the buoy, I caught several drum and even a really nice walleye, but it didn't seem like there was any smallmouth in sight. So I decided to keep on moving. Now, after looking at my map, I kind of noticed this small area where the river of Lake St. Clair actually kind of dumped into the main basin. And so I decided to kind of look around that area, because in a lot of southern reservoirs, anywhere where you have small creek channels that meet the main river channel, those can be really hot spots for catching summertime largemouth. But in the same sense, I thought that maybe this river dumping into the main basin of the lake would kind of provide some of the same habitat. So I pulled up to this area and immediately noticed some scattered grass in the area, as well as some bait. So I put my trolling motor down and started fishing. Well, we got another smallie. All right, well, we just got smallie number 3, and again, not the class of fish we're looking for by any means. It does feel good to just get some bites. And another spy bait fish. All 3 of my fish today have come on a spy bait, so I don't know if that means anything, because they're all kind of small, but I've been doing the little jig head minnow thing. I've caught 3 or 4 drum. I've caught I had a muskie hooked and then just broke it off because it was going to take forever. And man, just been doing a lot of different stuff to try to catch a fish, but I don't know. I'm not catching big ones, but I just keep kind of moving around right now. And I know how this lake can be. I know that sometimes you can just, you know, you'll get around them and you're you're around them. So that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, same size fish. 196. So I don't know, at least I've kind of dialed in something that maybe they're committing to, which is that spy bait. So I actually switched up the spy bait. Well, I'd say I'd switched it up, but I broke that other one off on that muskie. It was going to take me forever to get that thing in. And so I don't know, that was a first cast in one of these new areas. There's some bait around here, there's some loons, there's some grass, so I'm just gonna try to expand and see if there's anything else here. Now, after catching that third smallmouth, I jumped right back up on the front deck and I caught a fourth smallmouth. But unfortunately, it had the spy bait a little bit deep and it was bleeding, so I decided not to weigh this fish. Instead, I just poured some Mountain Dew on it to help stop the bleeding and then release the fish back in the lake. Guess we're spy baiting today. Gosh, so freaking strong. Oh gosh, should have just lost that fish. Biggest one I've had all day too. Okay. Man, I do love a good spy bait bite. All right, another smallmouth on that spy bait. I mean, I don't know, I'm trying a lot of the jig head minnow stuff and I'm just I'm not getting it. When they want this deal, they will shoot up to come get it. And a lot of times I found just in fishing that when fish are that aggressive towards a bait, that you got a good bait. So still not a giant, still not the ones we're looking for, but it's a 253. It's number 4. Technically it's the 5th keeper I caught, but I didn't weigh that one because it was bleeding and I just poured some dew on it and got it back. But let's try to get more. There's definitely some more in there. Little spin bait 80. You guys know how much I love these little baits. They are such good fish catchers. Smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, they love that thing. So let's get after it. Gosh, came back. Ooh, that's a better one there. That is a better one there. Don't you do it, fish. There we go, baby. It's a little bit more like the St Clair smallies we're after. God, how sweet was that? That fish tapped it. I missed him. I dropped it and he came back and got it. Now we got boats that are probably gonna stop. We got a boat running by right now. So I'm gonna act cool, act like I'm not catching a fish. This is me faking it. It's a bad thing when you gotta do that here, but there are some serious you will get the bent pole pattern quick on this lake. Look at that big old beautiful fish. Still not a giant, but man, I will take him. I will definitely take him. Beautiful. Don't have a net with me, so I'm gonna have to land them just by hand. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful beast. All right, that's a little bit better there. That's more like what we're talking about. a little bit more in that closer to 4. He's probably not over 4, but he'd be a good 3 3/4-ish. Man, took a while to find something. I mean, guess that's why it's rewarding when you kind of figure a little something out. But I was getting worried. All right, let's see how big that fish is. 381. 381. Biggest of the day by far. We still gotta catch us a lot more, and a lot more just like that, but I'm feeling so much better about the day already just from catching a few. Gosh, that is so much fun. I love a good spy bait bite. All right, fish, go back out there.
Now, quickly before we get into the rest of the video, I want to talk to you a little bit about a spy bait, because this is a technique that you may not be super familiar with. Although it has been around for a while, there's still a lot of guys out there that don't always pick this thing up. It's not always the first thing on their mind. And something about a spy bait, one of the #1 reasons why I like to pick this up is because you can target highly pressured bass with this thing and still get them to bite. And you may also be watching this video thinking that you have to use forward-facing sonar in order to catch fish on a spy bait. And guys, I've been fishing a spy bait for probably about 8 years now, and only over the last 2 years have I had a Mega Live in my boat where I'm able to use forward-facing sonar. So I fished a number of years and really fell in love with a spy bait, actually fishing it without forward-facing technology. Now, I absolutely love my Mega Live and allow it to be able to see and do what I need to. But back in the day when I used to fish this thing, and if you don't have forward-facing sonar, this is the way that you can fish it, is really by trying to keep this bait in the middle of the water column. This is what I call a middle of the water column bait. This is what I have found to work all over the place. I've literally caught fish not only in Ohio where I live, in Michigan obviously, New York, Florida even. I've caught fish everywhere on this little bait. And I always try to keep it in the middle of the water column. What I mean by that is if this bait, if I'm fishing it in 10 foot of water, I try to keep this bait right around 5 foot deep. If I'm fishing this bait in 20 foot of water, I like to keep this bait somewhere around 10 foot deep. Now you may be saying, well, how do I keep it in that depth zone if I don't have forward-facing sonar? And that's actually relatively easy. This is something that I used to do all the time, and it's really just you count the bait down. This bait falls a little over a foot every second. So if I'm fishing in 20 foot of water, I want this bait to be about 10 foot down. I'm gonna cast this bait out. I'm gonna let it sink for about 8 to 10 seconds, and then I'm going to start my retrieve. And I'm just going to slowly bring that thing back to the boat. Somewhere around that medium slow pace, that bait's gonna stay pretty much parallel to the bottom in the water column. So you can keep it in that strike zone pretty easily. The other good thing about a spy bait is there's a lot of room for error with this bait. And the reason that I say that is because I have seen bass that will follow this bait and that will come after this bait from a great distance. This little bait has a lot of drawing power. And so even now with using my forward-facing sonar, I saw on this particular day of fishing, a lot of the fish that I caught would actually hit this bait 2 or 3 foot below the surface of the water when I was fishing in 12 foot of water. They would come 10 foot up to hit this bait. And I've seen this all across the country. Bass will come a distance to get this bait. So if you guys are unfamiliar with this bait, just know that there's a little room for error and that it's a very easy bait to throw. I mean, you're literally casting it out and you're just simply reeling it back. Slow, medium pace. Now, if you want to pick up some of these, I highly suggest doing it at Omnia Tackle. Omnia is the sponsor of this video. And not only can you get all of your tackle at Omnia and really help support this channel, but Omnia is really just a resource to the bass fisherman. Something that I really like to do is look at all the fishing reports. Before I go to a lake, I can kind of get an idea of where the fish are gonna be and what lures have been working. And so I love using their fishing report. I also love using the Pro app, where I can really kind of put layers on different maps, you know, topographical maps, and it can really help me to just concentrate and be efficient out there on the water and locate fish a lot quicker. In this video, I was fishing one of the biggest lakes in the nation. And it is so vast out there, you really can't comprehend it until you get out there, because it's like an ocean. And I was still able to go out in a time frame where I've never fished it. I fished in all new places I've never fished, and I was able to catch a lot of fish, which you will see towards the end of this video. So if you guys would like to help support this channel, click that link for Omnia, and let's get back out on the water.
Oh, God. Little one. It's cool to watch him come up out of that grass to get it. I don't think he's gonna help us. Oh, lost him anyways. Just got it pretty good. Okay. Just got another one. Probably just a small little upgrade. Not a giant. But let's see, when my small's a 191. Actually, he may not be in that there. Let's see. 209. So he's a small upgrade, but another spybait fish. Just trying to, got about 13 pounds, a little under. Just trying to, I only got that one good fish. I'm trying to figure out this zone. I think it's bigger than I think, and so I'm just gonna keep fishing around and try to figure out where the little hot spots are.
Now, after catching several bass, filling out my limit, and even calling a few times in that area, I wanted to continue moving to try to find an area that had maybe better quality fish in it. And so I moved immediately north of where I was fishing. You can see on the map that there's basically a small funnel in this area. And funnels can be really great feeding zones, especially if you have bait and grass in the area. And immediately I noticed just those two things, bait and grass, and within 2 or 3 casts, this happens.
That's a good one. These fish will literally, they're coming off the bottom to get this bait so far. I don't know how big he is. He's definitely gonna help upgrade us, but I don't think he's like a 4-pounder. All right, let's go. All right, just got, I don't know what number fish this is, but definitely an upgrade. But man, still, this place is so vast. You know, I'm really trying to dial it in. What I do know is that the fish that are gonna eat this bait absolutely come unglued on it. I mean, they come from deep all the way up. As soon as it hits the surface, they're after it. And so definitely learning something about the spy bait today. Let's see, our smallest fish is a 1 I think it's a 196. Can't see too well, so he's definitely gonna help us. We're still looking for those 4-pound fish. $2.69. Gives us $13.33. Golly, still so beautiful, so much fun. I love it. I love it so much. It's fun. I don't think I got that one. I forgot to turn my unit on. I'm gonna let him go. I don't think I got that one on the video, but still, such a fun bite. Yeah. Don't do it. That looked like a good one. No! Dude, they are crushing this thing when they want to get it. That is so cool. A better one. You got it good. Come here. Got us another one. Beautiful fish. Definitely gonna help us. Let's weigh it real quick. I think I'm done trying to fish anything but the spy bait. All right, 209 is our small. We got someone coming. He's idling and just looking right at us. That is a 324. So it gives us over a pound. Brings us to 1448. Look at that. Beautiful fish. Gosh, they are so much fun. So much dang fun. Let's get another.
Well, unfortunately, 1447 was the best that I could do in the 7-hour time frame that I gave myself to tackle one of the biggest lakes in the nation. I really probably should have given myself more time with how vast this lake was, but if I'm being 100% honest, I was okay with my day. I felt like I was starting to develop a pattern, starting to understand the fish a little bit better. I just needed some more time to find really the right areas that were holding the bigger fish. And what I actually found out later in that day, really at the last half hour of the day, is, you know, there were some big wolf packs of bass boats out there. You know, places in Anchor Bay, places even outside the Metro Park where there was a lot of bass boats, and I tried to stay out of that all day. I really didn't want to go in there and be bumper to bumper with boats. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. But at the very end of the day, with about 20 minutes to go, I was kind of close to one of these conglomerations of boats. I slipped up in there and I realized why so many people were there. There was bass everywhere, big groups of bass. There was a lot of really good habitat as far as rock and grass in these areas, but the fish were extremely hard to get to bite. In the few minutes that I spent in there, I cast my spy bait over a number of fish, and I actually ended up hooking 4 fish, and I only landed 1. 3 of them came off. And so it just really kind of showed me that those fish had been pressured. They had a lot of pressure. They had been seeing a lot of baits. And it seemed like every other fish that I caught earlier in the day, man, they got that bait and they got it good, and I was able to land them. But in those areas with a lot of pressure, it was very difficult. But guys, I really enjoy making these lake break videos. I really hope that you enjoy watching them. If you do, let me know down below in the comments. And also, I'm gonna leave a link right up here for my latest lake break video that I did besides this one. Also, if you guys wanna help support the channel, one of the best ways to do so is shopping at FinFishing, my apparel brand. I will leave a link for them right here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.